I do have the
The Padres are looking to trim payroll some more. We'll talk about all of that and more tonight on Padres Talking Padres. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Padres Talking Padres. My name is Jay, and with me during this close of winter meetings is Jerry and Jack. Gentlemen, how you doing tonight?
the winter meetings were usually. I mean, we got spoiled. Let's face it, as San Diego fans, we got spoiled for about 4 or 5 years. Now the winter meetings are back to 5 teams, grabbing all the talent, and we're just like everybody else is like going, "Can we play? Can we play?" No, you cannot play. You cannot play. Sit down. We must have all the talent.
Yeah, something tells me. I mean, you're right, Jack. I mean, the bottom line is the tier 1 players is what the winter meetings were about this year. It's not that way every year, but this year it was the tier 1. We still got a few of them left, but then we're going to get to tier 2, excuse me. And then we'll get to tier 3 where the Padres get to play this year because they already have 4 or 5 tier 1 players. So, I mean, I kept trying to keep that in mind as the winter meetings were going on. It's like we already have our players.
It's a really good point because this article dropped today or yesterday from Kevin AC, and basically it laid out that the commitments this year are like $210 million. They're trying to shave a little bit off of that or something like that, and trying to stay underneath the tax. And people online and Twitter and stuff are upset, and saying, well, you're raising ticket prices, yada yada. Why you should be putting that back into the team. But we still have a bunch of superstars. Like can't get a superstar every offseason, right? Or should I? Who's right and who's wrong, I guess.
Well, it's the economics of baseball. I've talked to a lot of people just recently, and not just because of the winter meetings, but baseball is broken right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll find out what direction it goes with the 2026 contract, because what the Dodgers are doing is perfectly legal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's by the rules. They have no apologies for doing it. The bottom line is big market teams have a serious advantage. They've always had an advantage. They have a more serious advantage now with the escalating price for pitchers, especially. I mean, it's unbelievable, some of the prices that are being paid. And the fact that, deferrals don't count 100% against the luxury tax. And that's my big beef. I don't have a problem with, capitalism and guys getting more money and things like that. It's what it counts against the luxury tax that bothers me, because an example is Shohei Ohtani's $70 million a year, but yet on the AAV, it only counts for $47 million.
Yeah.
And that's just not right. That's the part that needs to be fixed, because if you fix that, at least they're having to pay for that right now. That's not going to stop them. Let's face it, that's not going to stop them. And as their GM their president has said, everybody can do that. We're not the only ones that can do it. We just, it's a case by case, but
can they?
Well, the thing is that under the structure of the rules, you got to get the buy-in by the players too. Now, I always, you guys know me for a long time here. Roger Clemens was one of my favorite players.
Probably too long.
Yeah. But Roger Clemens was one of the first guys that I heard of that deferred a lot of his contract. He did it on purpose. Every time he would sign a new contract, he'd defer 20 years out. And the next one, okay, now it's 25 years out. And to the point where he is still getting paid from various organizations, because he's just smart about it. And just say, hey, you know what? I want money down the line too. I'm not going to be 20, 25 my whole life, 30. When I get to 50,
they're going to ban steroids eventually.
Yeah. But, from what I understand, Ohtani is the one that really brought up the deferral because he doesn't need the money. And that's what's changed in today's world, is the sponsorship, the merchandising, things like that. I mean, guys like Ohtani, he's making millions and millions a year from all that. So he's like, hey, I'll do the team a solid. And from what Friedman told him, he made Friedman promise that would go to getting more players to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So,
but another thing too is where other teams can't do it because Ohtani is he's a different player because he's from Japan.
Sure.
Now his contract at $700 million is already paid. I mean, what they're getting back from Japan in revenue is more than paying for the contract. That's where it's a shame Seidler wasn't still alive. He might have gone after Ohtani because a smart business person is going to. I think he was a smart businessman, and he knew that if he got the Japanese market, Ohtani's contract was going to pay for itself. Now here you look at a Soto who's getting 805. That no one's paying extra to see Juan Soto play.
No,
I like Juan Soto, but people aren't. There's not another country going, oh, our favorite son is playing.
Hey,
come
on, Jack. Come on. How much more thrilling can you be to watch Soto walk?
Exactly.
Come on.
I mean, I'm not going to say Ohtani's the greatest player ever. I know a lot of people like to say it. I go, I'll take all the other players that have ever played baseball. We'll wait and see how his career ends.
Yeah.
But right now, he's the guy. He's the face of baseball. It's been that way for a couple of years. Again, they got the whole jet, and they went out and got Yamamoto just to secure it.
Yeah.
Just to make sure. And they're making so much money from that. Again, what other player out there can you go, okay, it's Juan Soto, he wants it all up front, no deferred money.
Right.
Because he knows he's not going to get, especially pissed off half the Yankee fans, and they're still crying about it. Boo-hoo, oh, you didn't get somebody. I feel so bad for you.
Well, but his press conference today didn't
it was brutal.
All that much.
No, it was brutal.
Where he said New York is a Mets town and has been for a while. That's them fighting words in New York City, I'll tell you what.
Well, it's stupid.
Yeah. So you swing this back around to the Padres, and I really went into the winter meetings expecting zero. I'll be honest with you.
You got what you wanted.
I got what I asked for, or what I thought. It's not what I asked for, but everything you hear, the Padres already have what they have for salary. There's no room to add. And another source that I had heard was that the Padres were in no way, no shape, no form going to go over the luxury tax this year.
Yeah.
So, trades us back to our headline there. Are we going to trade Cease? Are we going to trade King or Rise? Cronenworth, Suarez. I've heard all those names in the rumor mill, and I kind of took the direction with Cease before I guess it became popular a couple of weeks ago. I was like, if I'm the Padres, I got to find somebody with a 2-year deal. And of course, at that time, Crochet had not been signed. And I thought, I doubt if they would want him, but you got to go find somebody like that that's got 2 years even. I mean, just anything that gives you a little bit extra and go ahead and make it work. I think there's not a fan in San Diego that doesn't want a long-term Cease, King, Arise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that's probably not going to happen. And you got to keep your eye on the future too, because here's where I stand. We got Merrill, granted a couple of years away, Salas, DeVries. I don't want all my money tied up in the next 5 years. What if I want a long-term Merrill? If I've got no room, if this was Merrill's walk-away year right now and we didn't have him tied up, how would we feel if we didn't have the money to have him?
Exactly.
And so you got Machado, Tatis, Bogarts. They've got the next 7 years at least sewn up. So
yeah. Well, that to me is that's the I don't know, the caveat here is that we don't want to go over the luxury tax. We're already slightly over it, so there's going to be some finagling to make that all work. And Seidler's legacy is still there because he signed Tatis to a long-term deal, Machado to a long-term deal, Bogarts to a long-term. There's a core to this team that is going to be there. Maybe Bogarts gets traded because that's one of the names that are being thrown around. But the superstar players that San Diegans pay money to go see are going to be there, and they're not going anywhere.
And I think realistically, guys, I mean, everybody's got caught up on what we need, and it's like, okay, there's a lot of teams out there that need more than a left fielder, a catcher, and one more starter.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of teams
Yeah.
that have got a lot longer laundry list than what we've got.
Mhm.
And, we still have guys, who knows, maybe there's another Merrill down in the minor leagues that's going to show in spring training. One of my Padre fan friends even suggested, it's like, who knows, maybe Salas comes in and they say, you know what? We tried it with Tatis. We tried it with Merrill. Let's give it a run.
Yeah.
Who knows? So I think there's a lot of that. And look, the biggest thing with the catcher, before I get too far, Alfaro, Nola, Sanchez. Preylor's just got a nose to go pick up guys that'll do just fine. Higgy. I mean, the last 5 years we've needed a catcher. In the last 5 years, we found one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
Exactly.
Preylor found one. Yeah.
Well, there was the catcher that they gave for Crochet. I was like, ooh, that would have been nice to get, but but it doesn't matter. We have one in the wings. So I guess the question, the thumbnail of this was like, should they trade Dylan Cease? So we get the logic of why you would trade Dylan Cease, but should they trade Dylan Cease? What's your thoughts there, Jack? Jack, why'd you go, and then we'll go, Jack.
I would say you don't have to. It depends, I guess, what their payroll is going to be and what they want. You don't want to put out there you have to trade him, because now
exactly that screws are.
You could start the season and say, okay, we're going to start the season with Cease. We got a good starting rotation. The Dodgers have proved themselves, but we proved we could go toe to toe with the Dodgers last season with what we have. Let's just start the season, see what happens. If you're making a run for the playoffs, I wouldn't trade him.
Mm-hmm.
But if the offseason someone knocks your socks off, I mean, I was thinking, why don't we trade? I said the Orioles are looking for starting pitching. I'll give him Cease, I'll give him Suarez, and I'll give him a young player for Jackson Holiday. If we don't trade Bogarts, then
I don't like Jackson Holiday. He hasn't impressed me his first season.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
I think he's got talent, and then you put Jackson Holiday. He's a shortstop. He can play left field, right?
Is he shortstop? What is he?
Well, he came up as a shortstop, but they have a shortstop.
Gunnar Henderson, right?
Yeah, so they moved him to second. But to me, you would eliminate. It's $13 million for Cease, $10 million for Suarez. So that's $23 million right there. You get a good young player. I'd want another pitcher in return, a young pitcher in return from the Orioles. But if that's what you have to do, I'd take a chance on Jackson Holiday. I think there was a lot of pressure when he came up. He was under a lot of pressure. He's very young. I know his dad never touched home plate. I get that. That would be a sticking point. But a trade like that I could live with.
Savant's not looking. Look at this. It's not looking good. He's got a good hard hit rate, I guess.
Well, he started out like 0 for 35 or 40, something like that. So he's how old is he? 21.
Hey, Jackson Merrill's 21. He did all right.
Yeah, Jackson Merrill's just a different beast. And plus, when Jackson Merrill came up, there wasn't any pressure on him.
Yeah.
Was there? I mean, there wasn't like this guy. This guy, they said, oh, he's going to take they were saying, oh, he's going to take us to the World Series.
Let's compare the two rookie seasons here.
Yeah. I got to say, no offense to Jack, but the deal you're talking about to me would be more of a mid-season deal. I don't think, number one, the Baltimore Orioles would do that, because the Baltimore Orioles have not put out a whole lot of money for anybody, and they're not really known for big trades. They went out and got Corbin Burns for 1 year. 1 year rentals, maybe a little bit here and there, but for the most part, they've done it the old-fashioned way. They've done it through the farm system.
It did come out today, though, that their owners told their GM, go ahead and bid on Soto, and he said no.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, there's the tier 1A, which is ridiculous. I'm going to say it. I think I texted you guys. Okay, for the price that they paid for Soto, they could have got Fernando Tatis Jr. and Manny Machado both for the same amount of time.
And what would you rather have?
There'd be money left over.
Yeah, that's to me is the ridiculous part of it. So to me, you get to the more realistic, or I hate to use the word realistic because you're talking still, hundreds of millions of dollars. But, like the Blake Snell deal and the Max Fried deal, and Corbin Burns is probably going to get somewhere in the vicinity of what those guys got. But you got to get past that. I mean, the Padres are not going to go sign those guys.
And to be honest with you, I wouldn't want that. We talked about months ago. I wouldn't give. There's no way I'd give a pitcher an 8-year contract.
Right.
There's
no way. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is just me personally. I would not be surprised if we go into the season with the three big ones: Darvish and Cease and King. And I would not be surprised if we don't have Vasquez, Brito, Waldron, and Morejon, and again maybe Sasaki if that ends up being the deal. I would not be surprised if that's what we go in with, because I just don't see us making that kind of a deal this year, because if Musgrove were around right now, of course, number one, we probably wouldn't be talking about trading for a pitcher, because we'd be sitting there going with our 4 and crossing our fingers for Sasaki.
Yeah.
But I think with Musgrove out, and let's face it, Darvish older. He's already been on the DL a few times, and you need depth in pitching. I wouldn't be surprised if they go trade for, like they've done before with Waka, with Lugo, with King. Go get a guy they think they can turn into a starter.
Yep.
I just don't see the Padres putting the money out for it, and I don't know if there's a trade out there with as scarce as pitching is in Major League Baseball that anybody's going to give them anybody good for what they're going to have to offer.
Yeah.
You're going to have to go get some young, unproven guy, whether it's a, Holiday Jackson or, Jackson Holiday, excuse me. And
you do it too.
Just so I can do that with Merrill Jackson.
You only want Jackson as a last name, not a first name.
Right. Merrill Jackson and
Jackson Reggie.
Yeah.
Cook Jackson.
But that's the only way I could see it. But not too many people are willing to give up on a guy that's even proven that they're halfway decent in the minors or the first year in the majors. So I feel for Preller in some ways. Of course, I think we all would agree that Bogart's it's not against anything about Bogart's. It's just that one additional $300 million contract that's really weighing him down right now.
And he really is. I mean, he was hurt last year, but even his first season, if you look at his stats, he was okay.
But even if he were performing to the contract, it's still 3 guys making $300 million. But
if he was performing to the contract, though, we'd be a little better.
Well, it wouldn't improve our pitching, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get that. But problem with Bogarts too is his defense is he's sliding down defensively too. So that hurts you.
I think we all knew that when the season started with the first contract. I mean, whether it's Machado and Tatis, I mean, everybody gets older, and they're talking a lot about Bregman, and this guy's a supreme fielder. Yeah, he has been, but he's now 32, 33. People deteriorate a little bit. You get that one rare case like Manny's arm that doesn't get any worse, but it's inevitable. Is Bregman going to come down? Yeah.
Is Bregman going to hit better away from Houston? That's a launch. That's a launching.
Depends on where he goes. Yeah. I think Bogarts is fine. Again, I'm not bemoaning the fact that it's Bogarts. I'm bemoaning the fact that it's $300 million. That's the part. He was hurt for most of last year, so let's see. I'm willing to give the guy, another chance, so to speak. He hit 307 and 22, 290. Was that 285? I could live with that. Is it worth $300 million? Probably not, but
I could live with that. I could live with that too, because no one's going to trade for him. I mean, when I heard that, I go, come on. I mean, Boston, but there was. It's funny though. Red Sox fans on Twitter, bring Bogey back, bring him back. I'm like, okay,
yeah, sure. Okay.
And but
Bogey needs the wall. Look at his hit chart there, Jay. Yeah. Look at his hit chart. He needs the wall.
And that's just hits. That's not flyouts where he'd be hitting them off the wall. He was built for Fenway.
He was built for Boston. Yeah. So
his stats would go up in Fenway.
So I think we've got the right guy to make the deals. I still say some of this is his fault. I still say, unfortunately, some of this is because Seidler passed away. Because I'm not sure if Seidler would be giving the same directions that he's getting from Eric. The whole luxury tax. I got the feeling Seidler would have said, "Boo hoo, who cares? Let's go."
I will say there's this in this article, something I found interesting.
Nobody can read that, Jay.
No, I know. I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it.
Even Jack can't read that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one big blur to me.
Yeah.
It was something to the effect of it wasn't Seidler actually didn't give that money to the contracts. They did a capital call to the minority owners and then took loans. So even Seidler didn't put up his own money. He just did a capital call and took loans to cover it, which,
it's
what a good business would
still,
do.
Yeah. It's still, the bottom line is that, the story goes, Boris has said it, and I don't think he had anything to gain from it, but basically said that we were ready to put Soto on the dotted line. And, Peter Seidler went to the hospital, and that was the end of it. Yeah. And so, I just don't warrant and feel like that's the winning way to baseball in the future. I know the Dodgers pull it off this year. I think you need to do farm system and a few free agents, but maybe we'll find out this year if the Dodgers have bought themselves the World Series for the next 5 years or not.
I don't like what they've done. I don't think they've really improved themselves. I mean, they don't have Hernandez is not signed with him yet. They talked about trading Arenado for Arenado, but they'd have to give up Muncy, and I would laugh if that happened because Muncy's like, everyone just cry if we're building a winner, just cry. I would laugh because it's Muncy and we don't like him. But going to the Padre contract, I wish Padre fans would stop complaining about Cronenworth contract because what he's making now is nothing.
Yeah,
to steal. Like, what, $11 million a year?
Yeah, you look at what
12 million.
Tommy Edmonds got for the Dodgers. I'm like going, okay, he had a good couple months, but his whole career he's a good player.
Yeah,
but is he worth that much more than Cronenworth? And
this is MLB rankings. He's above average for batting run value, above average for base running value, above average for expected OBA, batting average, slugging. Not great on exit velocity or barrel or hard hit, but gets the sweet spot. Squared up above average. Like he's a solid player.
To me, the problem with Cronenworth, we've been saying since we started doing this show, or even before that, he's a second baseman. He's not a first baseman. And I think that's where I want him at second base. He's going to save. Well, he saves a lot of runs at first base with his defense too. But I think overall he's a second baseman. They got to go get a real first baseman, but I don't know how they're going to do that when they can't. Because we had talked about getting the guy from Arizona. I'm drawing a blank on his name.
Christian Walker.
He's linked to the Yankees.
Yeah, with the contracts out there now, there's no chance now.
Sure.
There's just no chance. But and we can really blame on the pitchers. We'll blame Oakland the Sacramento A's when they went out and gave was it Severino,
yeah.
Severino,
$67 million over 3 years. I went, wait, what? And I go, this is when you're deciding to spend your money. Now you've gone to I go, you overpay for a pitcher, which is going to jack up the prices of everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's like Snell. I love Snell. I think Snell's fun. He's a great guy. He's a great 5-inning pitcher. He's a great 5-inning pitcher.
Yeah.
Even when he won the Cy Young with us, it was 5 innings. Probably 6 innings tops.
Yeah, 6
and,
tops.
I mean, the Dodgers have a great bullpen.
His no-hitter was his first complete game. It was his first time going into the 8th inning, I think. The no-hitter he did last year. It was something crazy like that. He hadn't made it past the 7th inning before he did the no-hitter.
I don't know how he's going to Los Angeles. They're going to expect a lot. I mean, I don't know.
Well, he'll do fine. I mean, look at it. I kind of got this unwritten rule: just because somebody signs with somebody else, doesn't mean I'm going to, start bagging on him and things like that. He's a great pitcher. He's 2 Cy Youngs, everything. I thought I still think in my personal opinion, I still think the best pitcher to go get is still out there, and that's Corbin Burns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you want to talk about a guy that eats up innings.
But
Max Fried was a very close second, though. I mean, they were showing, those two are the inning eaters. The thing is that we got one of them too with Cease, and that, go back to our topic here. That's what's tough to give up, because if you trade Cease,
Mhm.
you're also trading your innings eater. I mean, of the three guys, he's the guy that throws the innings, so I think he had over 200 innings again this year. And that you can't replace that with a guy that's a ton of innings. Yeah.
I don't want to trade him, but the problem you're going to have next year is you have both Cease and King. You can't sign. I mean, we don't even know if I have hiccups. I'm sorry. We don't know if we can sign one of them, let alone both of them.
Well, and there's the magnitude of the deal that is yet to be made, or that Preller has in front of him. If you give up one, does that mean you can long term another? That
Maybe.
might be.
There's no guarantee.
I think that might be the more of the driving principle behind the possibility of it happening. Is if he knows that by trading Cease and whatever else he's got in his mind and everything, that by loosening up that money, he can now long-term King, or make a pitch to King, I think then that makes it a little easier to do the deal. But if he's going to lose them both, he's going to lose them both. And the bottom line is Preller will make the move at the All-Star break if he has to. Those are the two guys that I would, if the Padres are doing medium, or they're not quite going to the playoffs, then he'll have to make the same decision he did this year.
Yeah.
Which is, am I all in, or are we getting out?
Yeah.
And I think we have an ownership that will always weigh in towards the all-in side versus
if there's a chance, yeah.
Well, and I say that because, again, you've got 3 long-term contracts that aren't going anywhere, and so what are you going to do by emptying the barrel, so to speak, and leaving yourself with those 3 guys?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now you're spending $60 million or whatever a year, or $90 million, whatever it is, for what? To rebuild? This is not an organization as it sits right now that will rebuild.
Can't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't, because you got a rabid fan base now, and you can't lose them.
Well, it's just that, but to me, though, I'm not disagreeing with Jack, but it's the economics of it that I'm driving at. You can't have $90 million on the hook on 3 guys and just say, well, we're going to take 2 or 3 years off so we can rebuild.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
But I've thrown this out there a few times, because we've all said, what could Fernando Tatis do if he could play a whole year?
Yeah.
Is he ever going to play a whole year? Is he ever going to play a whole season?
That's the rub,
and so you have to think about it in the back of your mind. You'd get a boatload of players. I mean, if you traded Fernando Tatis Jr.
Never, ever.
You would get a huge.
You need to hide Jack Square right now.
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
There you go. There we go. Yeah. Man.
What is this? Is he a Yankees fan or something? Like, okay, we'll give you a box of gum and let's see, 2 Cracker Jacks, and you give us Tatis.
Yeah.
Obviously, no. I don't want to trade Tatis, because Tatis is also your moneymaker as far as
exactly.
merchandise sales and stuff like that. But I am saying, it is frustrating when he gets an injury and he's out for, one year. He was out a whole year, and then last year he was out for 3 months. And you're like,
there's 29 other clubs out there that would be on the phone to you right now if you were the GM for the Padres.
But that's what I'm saying. I think you have to listen.
Yeah. What if while you're going through this crazy stage, Jack? What can I offer you to get one of the best players on the planet?
What do you have? I'll take a couple ready-made players, and I'll take it could be like a Soto deal where we gave Washington, where they got like 7 players, and 2.
But none of them would be Tatis.
But
none of those are going to be Soto.
Yeah. No. But what about Tatis? All these contracts going up. What if he comes out and says, I want more money? I'm
sorry about it. You signed a 14-year deal.
But he goes, oh, you know what? I'm just going to sit till you pay me more. It's happened. It's happened before.
In baseball?
Yeah, it happens all the time in any sport.
I've never seen a baseball player sit out to get a better contract.
But, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Anyway, let's get back to the real. Let's get back to the real world.
Let's see. Has a MLB player sat out
while under contract?
while
gosh.
under contract. MLB players have historically sat out or held out while under contract, meaning they refuse to play. Famous examples include Mickey Mantle and the Koufax tries. Okay, that was before there was free agency.
That was before free agency.
So yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry, audience. Sorry, Jack is really,
look,
really old.
Look it up. Look up some more. All right,
I just did it. Pulled it.
Jack is really, really old.
It's like, yeah, the current players like Mickey Mantle and Sandy Koufax.
And Sandy Koufax, yeah. Kurt Flood, yeah.
He's trying to Google right now. You can see him. He's looking down at his keyboard. He's pecking at the keyboard one finger at a time.
Yeah. We know he doesn't like to read, but can he type? So.
No, he types worse.
But let's move on to left field, because we know that Profar's out there. There seems to be this agreement to agree that they both like each other.
Sure.
That doesn't always.
Do you
go
like
anywhere
me
because,
or like you like me?
Well, here's the deal though, Jack. You remember 2 years ago we heard the same thing when he was ready to, that he wanted to stay in San Diego. Then Colorado swooped him up because the Padres didn't give him the $7 million. Or excuse me, he did not.
Well, he had a contract that he opted out of.
Exactly. So he didn't take the $7 million option. I wonder. I'd love to be the fly on the wall. I'd love to hear the discussion on how the Padres approach this one, because he's left you twice. Do you really think he's going to leave? And how much can you penny pinch, to use Jack's background there? How much can you penny pinch to keep him? Because you don't want to insult the guy, but at the same time, there's got to be some kind of discussion about your first half and your second half, your first half and your second half, and where do what Jay? What would you employ people? What would your conversation be like?
We have to see how the trade market pans out, because if you're keeping Cease and you're keeping Arise, you don't have any money for it. So you either have to, money has to come out somewhere, because currently, as it stands, if we're staying under the luxury tax and the payroll commitments right now, like $205 and $210 million.
We're there. We're already there. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so there's nothing to do right now until maybe you adjust your money elsewhere, whether it's trading Suarez, do a long-term deal with Arise, which brings down his AAV. Like, stuff needs to happen before the Profar thing can happen.
Right.
Maybe you start negotiations with Profar saying, you're irrelevant. So we're just
that'll work.
We're going to only offer you $1 million. I mean, obviously he deserves a raise, but I mean, again, I like Profar. I love him on the team, love his energy. He's good in the clubhouse. But again, we just don't have $10 million we can pay him.
No, and I wouldn't pay him $10 million anyway.
Do you guys think there's an avenue for us to renegotiate a contract with one of our long-termers and lessen the AAV for this year and next year, so that we can get some money that way? Joe Musgrove, probably a bad example because he's not pitching this year, but where you reach out and say, okay, you got 4 years remaining on, with, I forget, $70 million or whatever. How about we make it 6 years and we'll give you $120 million, but we're going to bring your salary down this year and so on and so on.
Maybe you could again, going back to Tatis, you could probably do it, but you're going to have to bump up the back end of his contract.
But I think that pays off, don't you? Though? Yeah, but I think that does some good. I know it goes off of the average of the contract and and all that kind of stuff, but there's obviously creative ways to do it. And maybe maybe you go to Tatis and say, look, you got a lot of money already. How about we defer some of that for when you're done playing, and let's lessen the value of it.
Yeah.
I know that because that comes down to straight cash. That's how much cash you have on hand, not so much against the luxury tax. It's just, to me, something that you could probably go out and try and deploy, where in a year where it's this skinny, where you say, hey, if I can just divest $10 million off of my payroll for the next 2 years, that's a lot of wiggle room that I could really use to, maybe go out and get another, younger starter or another reliever. I still look at the, Tanner Scott. I wish we could keep him. My ideal is still to trade Suarez and sign Scott. But I know that Suarez has an $8 million option for next year. Not next year. That's 2 years from now. So that makes him a little bit less desirable for anybody trading because you're basically trading for a 1-year guy then.
But it's so his contract, it was what, 10 million?
I think
10
it's
million.
8 this year. Is it 10 this year?
10.
I mean, that's a pretty good for a guy with all those saves. The only thing that scares me about Suarez is he has had arm issues in the past, and it just.
Well, I think we're stronger. I think we're stronger if we have him as a left, especially when you start talking about Morejon going to maybe the part, trying out for the starting position again. He was a starter when he first came up, but because of the arm troubles, they kind of put him in the bullpen, and he's flourished there. Especially this last year, he was healthy the whole year.
Mm-hmm.
But I sit there and think, wow, we already got Estrada and Adam from the right side. Wouldn't it benefit us to have Scott versus Suarez? And that is no knock against Suarez. Yeah. I love Suarez. I'm not looking to get rid of the guy, but from
you want a lefty. You want a lefty, yeah.
I've been saying that since the season ending that I wanted to keep Tanner Scott. I mean, it'd be nice if we had the money to keep Tanner Scott and Suarez. We just don't. But I want Tanner Scott, but also because he owns Ohtani, and you're going to face the Dodgers.
Preller was asked that question. Do you make trades or you make decisions based on division rivals? And he goes, no, we don't do that. That's so far down the conversation.
Yeah,
it's like we make ours to be the best team against everybody. We can't hold on to a guy just because of one matchup and things like that.
Well, again, it's just it's not just one matchup. I mean, it's just the fact.
Well, it's not. No. It's a benefit, right? It's a benefit.
It's like it's gravy, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's but again, with Hosmer, we got one more year of Hosmer. I think 12.5 million.
Yeah,
and he's done.
And that's what I'm saying is just if you can find that way to get past this one more year, we get 12 more billion back there. I think everybody
12 plus
Jay,
2,
that's so small. I
can't.
Yeah, I can't read that. But I think next year we don't have any any contracts going up a lot.
I think it's just Machado's
look at Tatis.
Jumps.
No, Machado, I think, is set for the rest of his contract.
No, so this year he's only 17 million.
He goes to 38 million, right?
No, next year it jumps to 25.
That's where he's at now.
Or his base is a 21 with a signing bonus of 4 point. No, this year his base is I was just looking at it, like 17 million, but he has a signing bonus that pushes him up. So
if you go to Baseball Reference, you can do the multi-year, and it brings up everybody on it. Anyway, I think that there's the 12 million that you're going to lose there as far as Hosmer being off of it, but also I don't think any of the I was looking at the other day and I don't remember anybody jumping a bunch next year. Now going forward, Tatis does get the 35 million, I believe it is eventually. So Bogarts is clean. He's man, almost knocked my computer off there. He's clean for the next the whole life of the contract. It's the same every year. So
now to give Tatis a deferred, would he want more money?
Oh yeah.
I mean
that's how you have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to up the contract. But
you up the contract, but you take money off the AAV. This is how it worked with Ohtani, bud.
Yeah, I get
the contracts were 700. Yeah. The contracts were 700 million, but they have to put actual money in the bank to be able to cover the deferment.
Right.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if you open the door to Tatis, hey, does he come back and say, I want Soto money?
Sure. That's right. I think it's a moot point, to be honest.
I'll defer it, but screw it. I'm better than Soto.
But the difference between Soto and Tatis is Soto's on the field every single year.
He is, but if Tatis, as far as potential and as far as talent,
sure,
he does things defensively that Soto could only dream about.
But if you do it now, though, Jack, I mean, my argument would be, it's like we're willing to do a little bit, but we're not going Soto because what Jay just said. You haven't proven it year by year that you're beyond the field and everything. But if you wait till it happens, then you're going to have to give him Soto money.
But I'm saying is, what if the only way I'll do it, you give me Soto money, so then you just say, okay, scrap it. We're just not going to do it.
Exactly. That's what will happen.
Okay.
No, of course. Yeah. No.
I'm just saying.
It's not hand the keys to the bank. I'm just saying it's, to me, one of the tools that you can use as a general manager to when you renegotiate these contracts, that's what they do. That's the famous Bobby Bonilla deal. I think they only owed him like $7 million, and they gave him $1 million in deferred money for like 25 years.
Oh, he played a couple months for him.
Well, you sit there and you scratch your head, and it's like, well, that's because the guy that was giving it to him knows that if I keep that money, it'll be worth that much, and I can get rid of that money now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, you read an article on what they did with Ohtani, and Friedman will say, it's like, we have to put that money in the bank. We can't. That's $68 million. It's got to generate, or he's got to put enough money to generate the $70 million, or whenever he gets the deferred payoff. And so, but the thing I don't like is he made reference, because it's by, what is it, major league rules or whatever, the owner rules, it has to be safe. There's no, hey, it's going to go into something scary, you could go bankrupt, things like that. It's got to go into something that's very safe, low risk.
Yeah.
But he, of course, has a bunch of financial big shots as minority owners, and he made reference. It's like, well, they'll know how to make good money out of that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute now. That sounds like, in other words, I could put it into something that maybe is not quite so low risk, because these guys know more about money than most people.
Right. Sure. It's they're just a money machine now. I mean, it's I mean, with their local TV contract now, there's over so many years, like $8 billion, something like that. And we don't even have one.
That's the rub. And then hopefully by a year or two from now, we can get a TV deal, so we get more revenue coming in.
But we I thought I read, though, that we're getting, since we don't have a TV deal, Major League Baseball is giving us $15 million or something.
Yeah,
like
but
that.
we were getting 50.
I get it, but but again, that's the problem with Major League Baseball. They're
sitting around farting around while teams are struggling.
Well, they cater to the large market teams. They have probably the worst, and this is a tall stretch here, but because they're all bad, but they have the worst commissioner in major sports. Yeah, he's terrible.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's
absolutely
floating that
nothing.
Stupid golden
golden at bat.
I said, what are you talking about? We got people. You're such an idiot. But I said, but baseball, you're only as strong. Again, what are the Yankees worth and Dodgers worth if all the other teams folded? They're not worth crap. So you would think that they would be out there going, all right, we got to get San Diego's got a big fan base out there. Let's figure out a way to get them a huge TV contract. At least, what are they doing?
Yeah.
It's hard.
The NFL wouldn't allow that.
Yeah.
It's hard to believe that in 1920, when they went and got Landis to be the first commissioner, that they knew more about what could happen with the game back then than they do now.
It's true.
Because that's the reason they hired Landis, is because they needed somebody independent, because too many of the large city owners were taking over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
The NFL's got Jerry Jones. The Major League Baseball's got the two New York teams, LA and Philadelphia and Boston, and that's all that matters to them. Yeah. If those cities can have good teams, that's all that matters to them.
Yeah.
It's you always wonder, when is it going to finally shake down to nobody cares anymore.
And look, again, people are saying about Oakland. I said, I go, because Dodger fans are like, we had the courts. Oh, you don't understand how bad it was. I finally had it on Twitter with this guy. I go, he wouldn't even be in our top 3 of worst owners. Oh, do your research. I did the research, put it on there. He goes, I don't even know what you're talking about. Of course you don't, because I just pointed out that I go, did your owner almost move the team because he was so bad? Oh no, he didn't, because Major League Baseball stepped in, and that's where Major League Baseball is a joke. They let that Fisher guy in Oakland put a piss poor product on the field.
Yeah. But that's what the commissioner wanted. He didn't want that team in Oakland.
I know he didn't, but still, that's just a crappy way to run a business.
Yeah.
I don't know. They should have stepped in and said, hey, look, either you start putting major league players on the field, or we're going to take your team away from you.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, it's, look, I guess I'm just a baseball guy. I don't want my team to be so good that we're playing single A teams every night just so we can win.
I agree.
I just think that's what's wrong, you know. And I know it's always easier to, if you're a Dodger fan right now or a Yankee fan or a Met fan, yeah, oh yeah, we got great players and we got better, and I say the same thing. The Padres can't cry, we got a lot of $300 million guys. I don't think that's right either. I'm being honest. I wish the day could come that that we could be a little fairer so that everybody had a chance. I always equated, you guys know, I play a lot of fantasy football and fantasy baseball every year. And I always equate that the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Mets are going to a rotisserie draft, and you've got $260 to make your team, and they got $2,600. Now, how do you think those teams are going to shape out?
My argument's always been, I go, would you join a fantasy team, any league, any sport, if you had to draft last and you let 4 or 5 other players, guys, draft their whole team first? No, you wouldn't do it. Why? Because it wouldn't be any fun.
Right.
Again, I don't think the Padres have to have the best talent. I mean, the team we had last year was fun. The team we had the year before, frustrating but fun. I mean, literally, we had our best chance to win the World Series ever last season. It didn't happen. No. But again, you just have these teams where they just go. I mean, I love Snell, but he's not worth $181 million for 5 seasons. I'm sorry, he's just not. $36 million a year.
Yeah. I think the beauty of baseball is when you have deficiencies and how do you manage around them.
Right.
I mean, again, you go to some of the great teams in the past, back before free agency, unfortunately, or because in some way that was better. As far as the quality of teams, and don't get me wrong, the Yankees of the 20s and 30s, but I'm talking more like the 50s and 60s when small market teams could compete with big market teams. Is all how you drafted your farm system, things along that line.
Well,
some of the better teams had holes. They didn't have everything. Yeah, they didn't have everything. So. I just I yearn for the day where it's more of a fair competition where anybody in the division. And then one thing I will say about the NFL, to a certain extent, it's that way. You get different teams popping up. You can only spend so much money. You can't spend more money. There's a cap. There's also a cap or low. So everybody has to work in the same framework. And again, the players will never go for it. And I'm not against the players. I think anybody that works in any business should be able to make as much as they can make, good old capitalism, all that kind of stuff. But I think the framework needs to be worked on because it's just not right when one team literally has $1 billion lineup, $1 billion lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
And you've got other small market teams that are whittling, $50 million into their base, and that's
it. You see a lot of Dodgers and Yankees. They'll say, "Well, you're just got a cheap owner." I go. Sure, teams could spend more, but they can't spend as much as the Dodgers, Yankees, and they never answer you on that one. I go. Yep. Nobody's arguing that teams shouldn't spend more. I even said to some guy who's a radio guy in LA. I said because he was saying the Padres could spend more. I said, no, you're wrong. The Padres are maxed out. They have spent a lot of money the last few years. They don't have a TV deal. I said, nobody's arguing that. That's why I said that. I put, but they can't spend as much as it. And I go, that's the problem. No answer, because they're just, they know they're wrong. They know they're wrong.
But it's to me, I'm to the point I just don't care about Dodger fans. I just don't care. I don't care if they.
I know.
I think I alluded to this to you guys, so I'll change change the direction here just for a few minutes. I heard a really good argument on sports radio, and it really made sense to me. I hope the Dodgers sign everybody. I hope one team signs everybody. Because that's 1 out of 6 places in the playoffs.
Sure.
And it's been proven. This was the first year of the 6-team rotation that the number 1 seed actually won.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just make the playoffs, So in some ways, we're better if one team just gets a glut of them.
That's true.
Let them win their 130 games. If that's what makes their fans happy, if that's what makes their ownership happy, go for it.
Yep.
Because you still got to go to the playoffs where you're going to have to go through a 5-team and a 7-team game in a playoff, and you're still going to have to win that. And quite frankly, if you spend $1 billion, Yeah, I'm going to laugh if you don't win because you spent all that money. That was what you needed to do. So,
Yeah.
You should win.
Yeah.
So, I hate that we're in the same division of them because we fight this every year. But yeah, I really do. I hope they sign Hernandez. I hope they sign Tanner Scott. I hope they sign Corbin Burns. Go for it. Have them all. I really do because if they get spread out between the Braves, the Mets, the Phillies, then now we're in trouble. Now we are in trouble.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you told me that, and I said, well, I never thought about it that way, but that does make sense. It just hate listening to Dodger fans. They're just obnoxious.
Jay, I'm with Jay. I don't care about Dodger fans.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I have a lot of friends that are Dodger fans on Twitter, so it's kind of.
You have friends that are Dodger fans?
I know. I hate Twitter friends. I mean, I don't know personally.
Yeah. Wow.
But I was going to talk about Sasaki.
Yeah, let's close on that. Sasaki.
I did like with his.
We'll know when we know.
I did like what I did. If his agent is telling the truth, that he wants to play in a mid-market, small market because he doesn't like the pressure of the big market thing. If he's telling the truth, you'd have to think that the Padres would have to be on his radar. You'd have to be.
Okay. So here's where we're going to go with that, Jack. In this particular case, for one of the very rare cases, why would he lie? Because you're going to get the max international money from whatever team he signs.
When I heard
this is not to me negotiating a contract. The contract is already set. You're going to get the max money,
right?
That's and we're going to tell all those other kids that we promised money that sorry we can't give that to you now.
Because you kids that turned out to be like senior citizens, but that's okay.
But to me, that's what makes this very simple. It's going to be max contract. It's just his choice. And look, it's his life. If he wants to go to the Dodgers, I understand. If he wants to go to the Padres, I understand. If he wants to go to the Mariners, I understand. It's like this would be for me the best case scenario where I go, you know what, I'm going to make the same money no matter where I go for the next 6 years. I'm really going to choose where I want to go.
Exactly.
I'm not going. This is not a Soto deal where it's like, oh, wait a minute, they're offering me $750 million, but I really wanted to go to Boston, who only offered $680. Don't get me wrong for that kind of money, but that's still got to be kind of a tough call. It's like, wait a minute, if I go there, I'm giving up $70 million, man. I know I'm already going to get $680, but man, that's to me a lot tougher call than just saying, hey, I'm going to get the same money no matter where I go. So I'm going to choose where I want to live.
Agree.
Exactly.
But my argument's always been, well, these why do the amateur players from overseas get to pick where they want to go, but our amateur players here have to go into a draft?
Well, they're not amateur players, though, Jack. That's the difference.
Well,
they're already professionals.
But they get to compete. They get compete for Rookie of the Year. I mean, they get
Well, I don't agree with that. Now you're mixing here.
Well, I'm just saying. Either you're a rookie or
you're talking about the free agency part of it, because the free agency part is they're already pros, so they're just picking where they get to go. And I think it's a good rule that under 25, you go to the masses. You're not going to get mega dollars. No, Tani went that route. Yamamoto didn't. I mean, so that's an individual choice they make. Now, the whole Rookie of the Year thing, of course, I really could care less about those awards. I kind of take Jay's note. The only thing that would have helped is to get the comp pick.
Oh, yeah.
That other than that, I don't care.
And cash.
Won it.
Merrill would have got some money too, right?
$750,000. Yeah, I don't care for Jackson because he takes me out for lunch every week. So,
well, you're lucky.
But honestly, the comp pick is the only thing because the bottom line is, I want Jackson Merrill on my team. That's good enough for me. He's on the Padres.
But the thing I'm looking for is, obviously the Padres are looking for different ways to get revenue, and getting a player like Sasaki would probably help. I mean, I'm sure fans still love Hugh Darvish, but he's been out of Japanese baseball for so long. I mean, is he? He's not is he the draw?
Still, that Darvish Yamamoto game was one of the highest.
I get it, but it's just Well, you also had Ohtani in there too, but
well, there's offense versus defense, and I think that's the big draw of Ohtani versus whether you're talking about Nomo, whether you're talking about Matsui, not our Hideko Matsui back in the day. When those guys came over, these are our pitchers and all that. Ohtani, I mean, you look at Ichiro. Ichiro's probably the best example of what's going on with Ohtani. He had the same draw.
Snapping your case, by the way.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was me.
That
was me.
You look back in history, and Ichiro was the draw that Ohtani was.
Sure. Yeah.
So, in fact, that's what the Mariners are counting on. They got Ichiro on their committee to have the conversation with him. Hey, come on up here. So I think it's still the fairest way to go, because otherwise somebody's getting, then you get the international dollars. I think that's the one thing about Major League Baseball. The international money makes sense.
Yes.
It's one of the few things in baseball that makes sense. You get a certain amount of international money. You get a little bit more if you're a down and trodden team. We saw that with I don't know if you guys watched the draft lottery or not. I did.
Yeah.
I was that bored. But the interesting part of it is that they get a little extra money because they're picking higher, and because they're so lowly in the standings. Give them a little bit more competitive advantage. Now, granted, it's the difference between, I think it's like 7 million tops out and 5 million is the bottom, so it's not a lot. But the bottom line is you can't pad that. You can't just, as a club, like Cohen, and say, oh well, we'll put 70 million into the pot. So we can have more. No,
we'll defer it.
You're tapped up. Yeah, we'll defer it. So it's one of the few things to me that baseball's done right, where that way everybody's got the same presence or same capability of going and getting those young
what if you had a rule? Okay, the Dodgers, not Ohtani, because Ohtani was already in Major League Baseball, but Yamamoto was, obviously, all right, you sign Yamamoto, but you can't sign another Japanese player for a year or 2 years. It opens up to the rest of the league. I mean, it just, again, the Dodgers are just making tons and tons and tons of money, and it just you have other teams just can't compete that way. If you want to make a level playing field, you have to start putting some rules in there that keeps one team. I mean, they got the whole Japanese market.
It'll never happen.
I get that. I get
once
that.
you do that, you also do the Caribbean.
Yeah,
I get which you don't want that either.
The thing is, though, Jack, I think we want the same thing. That's the thing. The three of us, I think, rational guys that just say this is the fair way to do it, but it's not going to happen because you have 5 or 6 teams that rule the roost.
I know,
and you got a weak-kneed commissioner who's never going to stand up to them. And
but I'm saying,
and my son said, we're too far down the road now for us to turn back. There's nothing you can do now that's going to correct it. You've got too many contracts that last for 15 years. I mean, in theory, the only way you could address this is to say, well, starting in, what would it be, 2040, you're only going to be
honest with you, that's not going to matter for me.
Well, you never know. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
You might be drooling, but you might still be watching.
I'm already drooling and be like, what did he say? God. We don't know. He just yells.
He just needs to hold out, like those current players, Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
Remember when Mickey Mantle held out?
I don't even know who Mickey Mantle is. God damn it.
We call him the Mick.
The Mick. He used to go out drinking with Mick. That's why I don't have a
all right. We're coming up on the hour mark here. Gentlemen, any final thoughts?
Just want to say, I agree with you. It'll never happen. I just think there's if you had baseball had a better commissioner or just a better organization, these rules would have been put in place to make it. I mean, it doesn't have to be a completely level playing field. It never has been, never will be. But I think the only time it was a level playing field when they started the amateur draft in 65 until free agency, because, you had, you can't go out there and just get the bonus babies. Look at the Yankees record from when the draft was taken until free agency.
Yeah. So for Christmas, somebody needs to take the Dodger and Yankee memories out of Jack's head so that he can sleep at night. So my final thought is my prediction that we will not see anything happen for the Padres until January 15th.
Yeah.
I think that
That's what they're waiting for.
I think except for the big high end free agents by other teams, I think you're going to see a lot of teams doing the last minute, January 15th through February 15th trading. I think that's when you're going to start seeing some actual movement from the Padres. He's done it in the past, where the late signs, the moments of desperation by other teams, and saying, "Okay, AJ, we'll do it. We'll do it." We didn't want to, but we'll do it.
That's how he got Cease.
I think that's where he works his best, because to me, there's no better scouting organization than the Padres. And I know I'm a Padre fan, but they churn them in, they draft really well. So I think that's when the magic happens, is after the new year.
Yep. Agreed.
How about you, Jay?
That same, I think there's just, we don't have the financial flexibility right now to do anything big and moves. And to your point, other pieces need to fall before you can get to those points. So I think it's in the new year. We'll see what happens.
Did you guys
Dylan Cease until like right before the season started? So
well, we were on our way to Japan.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So
I'm not Japan, Korea. Did you hear Schiltz interview on MLB Network?
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yeah, I love Schiltz. We're in good hands.
The Padres feel like they're in good position for Sasaki. So I'm optimistic, but at the same time, nobody knows what the kid's brains are right now.
We've been down this.
He may have already made his choice.
Yep.
He may just he has to wait. So
Agreed. All right. Stop clicking that case. I'm going to take it away from you.
It's a Tatis saying
no. Maybe give you a little fidget spinner or something. All right.
No
on that note,
get the Dodgers out of his sleep and dreams,
I know.
man.
Jeez. I don't know when we'll come back. Maybe something big happens. Maybe in a couple weeks. Maybe after Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Everybody celebrates.
Yeah.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. And we'll see y'all next time. Hasta luego. And goodbye.
Thanks, guys.